Well, next year is a big year in the history of the United States of America. 2026 will mark the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Now, you may be old enough to remember the bicentennial celebrations that happened in 1976. Here on Delmarva, Midshore County is already celebrating 250 years. Caroline County was created in 1774 with land from Dorchester and Queen Anne's counties. And there is plenty of rich history to be learned from the time leading up to 1774 and the 250 years that followed. And Caroline County historian Chad Dean has taken on the task of chronicling that history into a timeline, and he joins us this afternoon in Historic Studio D. Welcome.
Thank you. It's exciting to be back.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about you being no stranger to Caroline County history. Tell me about how you got involved in it.
Well, the story starts with my grandfather, who was a founding member and president of the Caroline County Historical Society. So growing up, I was surrounded by books, pamphlets, other material that came from the United States Bicentennial and the Caroline County Bicentennial, but I was too young to be involved in it. So now that I'm a grown-up, I was very excited to be present and available for the 250th anniversary celebration of Caroline County.
Yeah, and you were actually asked to create this timeline as a result?
The Caroline County Commissioners organized a committee to celebrate the 250th, and one of the projects that came out of that committee was this timeline.
So where did you start?
I have been researching local history since at least the third grade. I remember announcing at Ridgely Elementary School that I was going to be a historian when I grew up. And so I've just been compiling resources, and I've been writing essays and columns and social media posts and everything in between. So when asked to do this timeline, I'm like, I can do it. And it was a joy to do it. I stayed up almost for a week straight just thinking of things to put into this timeline. And I would try to go to bed, and I'm like, nope, I need to put something else on the list.
That is commitment. Okay, so we were talking before the camera started rolling about there is so much that people don't know, so many interesting little tidbits. Can you cite a few that Caroline County has that maybe people don't realize?
I like to break the timeline down into 5 categories.
Okay.
Firsts, famous, fixes, fun, and family.
Okay.
So where should we begin?
Let's go with famous.
All right. Caroline County, for a small rural county, is nationally relevant in a number of ways. We could talk about how in 1796, the future president, Andrew Jackson, met a local, Charles Dickinson, outside of Hillsborough.
Okay.
10 years later, they would get into a duel on the Tennessee-Kentucky border, and future President Andrew Jackson would shoot Caroline County and Charles Dickinson dead.
Oh my. Okay. Well, from that, let's go to fun.
All right. Well, I know we're kind of right down the street from the Wicomico Youth and Civic Center, which for decades has been an epicenter for professional wrestling.
Right.
But I'm here to tell you, as a professional wrestling scholar and critic, that a number of well-known professional wrestlers have appeared and performed in Caroline County. Fabulous Moolah, who is arguably the most well-known female wrestler ever, defended her title at the Denton Armory in 1954.
Oh, wow.
And the main eventer in WrestleMania 2, King Kong Bundy, who challenged Hulk Hogan for his belt. King Kong Bundy won an independent heavyweight title at the Denton Firehouse in 1998.
Who knew? You did, of course. Okay, now I have to ask you, what is the connection between the show Hee Haw and Caroline County?
All right, Hee Haw is on the 250th timeline. If you recall, and I'm a faithful follower of the show in syndication and on Netflix, et cetera, et cetera. When they do the cornfield segment and they salute a town, usually a town with like a country sounding name, they saluted Hickman, Maryland/Delaware. And so that went on the timeline, but the story doesn't stop there. I've been to the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville several times. There is a hee-haw display, and the footage that they have on loop is that particular episode. So Caroline County is mentioned and enjoyed every time somebody walks through that portion of the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Wow, who knew? Okay, so you have this timeline, which obviously has a ton of information. Are you planning on continuing it forward?
Well, the work of a historian is never done. It's contested ground, so one of the things I like to do is take a look at stories that have been accepted as true and kind of set the record straight. There is a little village in Caroline County called Two Johns, and the story goes that two vaudeville actors, both named John, lived there, and that's why it's called Two Johns. Well, I'm here to tell you there was only ever one John, John Stewart Crossy, and I have all the documentation necessary, and so that's one of my F's, fixes.
Okay, so how can folks check out the timeline when it's done?
It was just released to the town governments. There are 10 municipalities in Caroline County, just released to them this week. Just released to the various historical societies in Caroline County this week. It's been on my social media for some time. It has, like a virus, spread around emails in official capacities of Caroline County for several months.
Chad Dean, thank you so much for coming into Historic Studio D today.
Always a
And
pleasure.
congratulations on such a feat.
Thank you.